We must open up our minds and take a look inside. I bet we find we hold all the answers to life.
You're watching RXG exclusives.
Oh, they tried to keep us away.
My guest is actor, writer, singer, and model Brooke Serene Butler. Her breakout role was as a flesh-eating cheerleader in the hit film All Cheerleaders Die,
Get me high after class, we'll call it even.
a top 5 pick on Netflix. Some of her other film and TV credits include The Remains, Ozark,
5 more minutes listening to her, you're gonna wish you'd died in a ditch in Hawaii.
The Resident, Being Mary Jane, Cybercase, The Inspectors, Baker and the Beauty, and Lee Daniels' Star. She's also appeared on the stage, but I can attest to her skills because I produced a TV pilot some number of years ago in which she co-starred. And even though most of my time was spent slightly offset, buried in paperwork, every chance I could get, I was at Video Village watching you and your co-stars work. And I must say, you came to work every day, even on our roughest shoot days, with a smile on your face, a sweet word for the cast and crew, and I appreciate that. You were a pleasure to work with, and I knew I had to get you on the show to talk about the arts a bit. So thanks for being here. And Brooke, let me just begin with, how did you get started in acting?
Without sounding cheesy, I think I just kind of, something that was in my blood. My grandma was an actress. Actually, her first kiss was on stage with Ronald Reagan in a little playhouse in Illinois. And I just always loved it since I was a real little kid. I think my parents took me to see Phantom of the Opera when I was 5 or 6, and I wouldn't stop crying as a 5-year-old. And I said, I want to make people feel the way Christine made me feel. And then from there, my first play I ever did was Les Mis.
Ah, that's one of my favorite musicals.
Oh, it's all time. And then I think at one point my family said, if you want to do this acting thing, you need an education. So I was like, well, then I'm going to go to LA and end up going to USC. I don't know. It's just always been something I loved. Art is something that can change anyone's life at any time, no matter who they are, how old they are. And so it's been a little saving grace for me.
So who helped foster your talent? Do you have mentors, people in the industry, people not in the industry who inspire you?
Oh man, I mean, my family's always been very supportive. I know that I'm so lucky with that. And through the years, I've had great mentors. Even my high school teacher, Yalmer Anderson, would put on the most fantastic plays. So I was blessed from a young age with those and being part of performing arts programs in Seattle. Also, my current coach right now, Lee Kilton Smith, she just loves actors, and she's the most empathetic human on the face of the planet. That she's just really taught me how to listen and how to be present, and she believes in me. And I take her class still every Monday, even now during the pandemic, over Zoom. And my fellow actors in that class make me keep going every single time I want to stop. So I would say a lot of my fellow peers in my acting class and people I meet on set.
Now, I mentioned All Cheerleaders Die at the top. What are some other projects that you've worked on that have made a significant impact in your life, either spiritually, creatively, career-wise, all of the above?
You know, every project I seem to become a part of, I just feel so blessed. There's something about the stage and being on set and with other fellow artists that just makes my entire spirit light up and come alive. But I most recently did a play in Los Angeles at the 1111 Theater, directed by Michael Leone, called Famous. And there was just something about that cast and being on stage that I think rekindled the why I do what I do, because we had so many, it was about the Me Too movement, and we had so many people writing in saying, that seeing that play on stage, you know, changed their life. They felt like they could come forward. They saw themselves in my character or things like that. So that's the entire reason I wanted to do this. And we also shot that as a film, which will be coming out eventually. And then another film I just finished called Front Row Killer. I play a singer who is very troubled, and it was really important for me not to say, oh, here's another, you know, troubled girl that's, you know, gonna go crazy, she's so crazy. I said, no, that comes from somewhere. You know, why do we have kids that go and shoot up a school? So I wanted to represent the why. That's what's so important to me. I wanted to represent those kids that don't feel like they fit in anywhere. And a lot of that came from just simply being a girl that no one ever tapped them on the shoulder and said, hey, are you okay? And so that was I think those two projects, which I did last year, were probably my favorite to date.
Now, you mentioned the Me Too Time's Up movement. How do you think that's going? Because it's an ever-evolving process, wouldn't you agree?
It's never going to be over. It's, you know, from the beginning of times. I mean, we even see what's going on right now. I think it's just something where we continually have to speak up for justice and not feel silenced, no matter who we are. So I think I'm so glad that a lot of those platforms are coming forward just so that people feel like they can. I think, you know, it just goes on in our industry in Hollywood, and all I can do is be a platform for, hey, if, you know, if you're going through something and you're out there, DM me, find me on Instagram, and I will be there to support you. I think it's just using the platform to say, hey, I'm here for you, I stand with you, and not wanting people to walk in fear. But unfortunately, you know, it happens, and it's still happening. We're starting to see some justice, and people are feeling like they can come forward now. So all I can do is say I'm here and I'm listening, and I want to represent you, and, you know, DM me if you need anything.
And obviously, males and females are victimized, but this is something that women have disproportionately had to endure. For men who don't quite understand the movement, what's your advice to them?
Listen to us. Listen to us. Try to put yourself in our shoes. I think it does happen to men too, and that was part of the storyline of the play Famous. Was about when it happens to young boys on set as well as females. So I think that women are just more apt to speak up. So yeah, I think just listening.
Now, as accomplished as you are, how do you maintain that humble demeanor, and how do you face rejection? This is a challenging business, securing auditions, securing bookings, working with an array of people with different work ethics and attitudes. How do you navigate all of that?
Ooh, good question. And I'm a faithful woman, so for me, God is where I always turn, and I always look at my life and say, if I try to always put myself in anyone else's shoes. So I want, you know, it's such an art form of collaboration. So if I'm on a set, an extra is just as important as the lead, because none of it happens without
Absolutely.
everyone. And the PA is just as important as the director. So that's how I try to approach everything. I've dealt with a lot of rejection every day. But I think that the yeses are so beautiful and so worth it, that the millions of no's that I hear all the time, I'm just like, okay, well, there's a plan, and I'll be put in the right spot to, you know, make some other little kid one day at 5 years old sitting there crying saying, I want to make someone feel the way that Brooke Butler made me feel. And it's, I think, important more than ever right now in the climate of our world to have artists that aren't ego focused and, you know, want to collaborate and want to bring everyone together.
I recall an experience. I was in a film called The Great Debaters years ago, and it was time for lunch, and I sat with some of the background actors, and they kind of looked at me cross-eyed, like, "You're sitting with us?" And I said, "Yeah, well, you know, we're all in this together. We're making this machine work together."
Hey, and one day that extra might be, you know, the lead of the next show. So
That's right.
all an even playing field, really. You just have to treat everyone the way that you would want to be treated.
I mean, this industry is crazy. One minute you can be Joe Schmo, and the next you're Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington, or Brooke, Serene, Butler. You know, it's always best to treat others the way you would want to be treated.
I mean, that's why we're on this planet.
Yeah. You know, the industry, much like our entire society and world, is undergoing a metamorphosis, so to speak, in light of a pandemic that is still at play. You know, it's difficult to imagine not being able to converge at Crafty, that's craft services, if you don't, for those that don't know, working with smaller crews and interacting with less people. You know, the film, TV, and theater it's an intimate process, as you know. How have the last few months been for you, and what are you doing to prepare for this new normal that the industry is undertaking now?
Great question. So I would say, to be completely transparent, the first 2 weeks of when the pandemic hit, I became almost like a shut-in. I was very silent. I didn't want to speak to anyone or return texts. I was kind of in a weird headspace, just because I was in a car service on the way to the airport to go film a television show for AMC, and got a call from the producer and said, don't get on the flight, we're shut down.
Wow.
And so I immediately, I immediately had no job. And I know, over 40 million Americans have applied for unemployment, and I just felt that sting of, so I went inwards, and I let myself have that strange time. And then as I slowly started to open up, I realized that artists are the most important thing right now, because what is everyone doing? They're watching their televisions, they're watching movies. That's how it was during the Great Depression. The only thing that didn't suffer was the arts. So it's more important now that we're, more than ever, that we're telling stories. So I've been writing. I have a Monday Zoom class that I do, and we've been writing monologues and writing scenes and performing them and staying connected and talking about what the world is going through and how we can continue change. I've also been doing this wonderful book called The Artist's Way, if you've heard of it, and it's a 12-week workbook about really kind of checking yourself and looking at, past traumas and where you really want to go with your life. Elizabeth Gilbert was working on that workbook when she wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And so just doing that every morning and journaling and just talking to friends and taking this time to be silent. I think there's no problem with just taking moments and asking who I am and where I want to go once this is finished, and really looking at what's important to me morally and ethically, and what impression I want to make in this world moving forward, and if that's changed through all this, and I think it has.
Well, Brooke, you're a very spiritual person. How has your faith played a role in your navigation of your career, and especially in a time when there's so much unrest and divisiveness? How do you hold on to that hope that things will get better? How do we all hold on to such hope?
I label myself Christian, but I really think at the end of the day that we're all going to get up there and go, it was all the same thing, and we were all fighting, and here we all are. And I just have always believed in my path, and I always pray every single time before a take rolls. I say, "Dear God, thank you for this talent. I know it's borrowed and I know it's not mine, so please use it to shine through me." And I think keeping that humbleness and knowing that any talent I've been given is really not from me, I hope shines through the work that I do. And, again, inclusion, and it makes me look at the world differently and But yeah, I just think it's, what happens at the end of the day, no one really knows. So to me, just being able to treat everyone as, a child of God and someone in my kingdom is, I think, makes me happy.
Now, I know you're a singer. Any plans to release an album, maybe an EP?
Maybe.
Okay, so that means
well, the movie the movie I just finished and that I just did ADR for remotely. So it's wild. Did it remotely this morning. I sing some original songs, and then maybe I'll do some music of my own one day.
Awesome. Tell me about some of your other artistic passions, and do you have any upcoming work that you might be unleashing to the world?
I love writing. So I have some stories from my life that I think need to be told. So I've been working on them. And when I'll produce those and make those, I'm not sure yet, but they're almost finished. The scripts are almost finished.
Fantastic. Let me just ask, for any girl or boy out there who wants to follow in your footsteps as an actor, what's your advice to them on how to navigate this very complicated, often painful, but also very rewarding business?
Great question. So the most powerful word in Hollywood is no. Keep believe in yourself, keep grounded in who you are, and you can do it. You can 100% be an artist. I think if you just follow with inclusion and you know that there's nothing else for you, and that you know that every no is leading you to that final yes, and believing yourself and not letting the bullies get you down, and to just keep your head held high and know that it is possible 100%. If you just have the work ethic and the drive, you can 100% make it in this industry.
Words of wisdom from Brooke Serene Butler. Brooke, thank you so much. Tell the people where they can find out more about you.
I guess on my Instagram, Brookie Serene, and I'll always post there if I have things coming out.
Thank you, Brooke. It was so great to reconnect with you.
You as well.
That's it for this edition of RXG Exclusives. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time where the conversation continues around the pandemic, right to protest, police brutality, and more.